The Ungrateful Sister. Chapter 1, The Good Sister. I was the oldest, and that meant one thing in our house: I had to be the adult long before I ever got to be a child. While my friends were going to sleepovers and sneaking into concerts, I was home doing dishes or covering for my mom's missed errands. When I turned 16, my first job wasn't about independence, it was survival. I flipped burgers after school, not for pocket money, but to help pay for groceries. My sister, Hannah, was 2 years younger but treated like royalty. She didn't have chores. She didn't get yelled at. If I forgot to take the trash out, it was a lecture. If she broke something, oh, she's just a kid. Even when we were both kids, I got used to it, the double standard, the silent expectations. I was the good one, the strong one, the one who didn't complain. My parents wore that like a badge. She's so responsible, we don't even have to worry about her. What they really meant was, she won't ask for anything, so we don't have to give her anything. When I graduated high school, I had a scholarship offer for a local university. It wasn't Ivy League, but it was mine. I had worked for it. I remember holding the acceptance letter in my hands, barely able to breathe. It felt like the one thing in my life that belonged just to me. But then came the conversation. My mom sat me down one night, her voice sweet but strategic. Hannah needs help with her application fees. And she's been really struggling in math. Maybe you could take a year off, just to support her. Your scholarship will still be there, right? Spoiler, it wouldn't be. But I didn't say no. Because that's what I did, I sacrificed. Quietly. I deferred my enrollment and took on more hours at my job. I became the built-in tutor, the emotional support system, the person who drove her to campus tours she didn't appreciate. While Hannah whined about which dorm had better lighting for selfies, I was calculating how to cover her books and bus fare. People praised me for it, like it was a choice. You're such a good sister. You're so mature. You're going to be such a great mother one day. I smiled. I nodded. And I swallowed down the part of me that wanted to scream. What about me? No one asked what I had to give up. No one noticed the dream I folded and tucked away, just to keep her comfortable. I didn't mind then. Or maybe I just told myself I didn't. Because when you're raised to give everything, it doesn't occur to you that you're allowed to keep something. Not until it's too late. Chapter 2, A Lifetime of Sacrifice. They say family is about love and support, but in our house, it was about keeping the golden child happy, no matter the cost. And I was always the cost. After I gave up college for Hannah, it didn't stop with application fees or tutoring. I took on a second job, evenings at a grocery store after my day shifts at the diner, just to help keep her enrolled. Every time her card declined, I transferred money. Every time rent was late, I stepped in. She didn't even ask nicely most of the time. Hey, sis, can you spot me again? You know I'll pay you back. She never did. But she said it with that breezy, confident tone, like it was just understood. Of course you'll help me. That's what you do. At some point, helping her went from occasional support to a full-time job I never applied for. My parents didn't just allow it, they encouraged it. She's really got potential. She's just going through a rough patch. You've always been the strong one, she needs you. It was exhausting. I was scraping by on microwave meals and skipping sleep just to make sure she could keep posting about brunch and grinding in school. Grinding. Please. She was coasting. Because I was the grind. Then came the baby. I still remember that phone call, her voice cracking with fake shame and real expectation. It just happened. I'm keeping it. I didn't judge her. Honestly, I didn't even have time to. Because within a week, I was buying diapers, driving her to appointments, and rearranging my work shifts to watch the baby after he was born. She said she'd get a part-time job. She didn't. She said the father would help. He didn't. She said she was grateful. She wasn't. My parents. They were so proud of her. It's not easy being a single mom. She's really stepping up. Stepping up. She slept until noon, partied on weekends, and called herself a warrior on Facebook while I was dragging my half-dead body from the night shift to her apartment to babysit. Meanwhile, I was the one who never had a day off. Who took sick days just to give her a break. Who rocked that baby to sleep with sore wrists and an empty stomach. And still. Your sister's really trying her best, they'd say. Why can't you be more supportive? Supportive. I was the damn foundation. And here's the thing, I never got a thank you. Not from her. Not from them. Just more expectations. They called her ambitious. They called me reliable. But really, they just knew I wouldn't say no. Because I didn't know how to say no. Not yet. Chapter 3, The Fiancé. His name was Daniel. And for the first time in years, I felt like someone saw me, not the helper, not the fill-in mom, not the financial safety net. Just me. We met at the coffee shop near my second job. I was on my lunch break, half asleep and covered in stress, and he offered to buy my coffee after watching me dig around for coins in my purse. I told him I didn't need charity. He smiled and said, "Good. It's not charity, it's an investment in someone who clearly needs a damn break." That was his charm. Kind, but bold. Funny, but grounding. He didn't just flirt, he listened. He asked about my dreams. My life. My work. Not in a shallow, polite way, he cared. When I told him about deferring college to help my sister, he didn't praise me like everyone else. He just said, "That's a hell of a thing to carry. What would happen if you let someone carry you for once?" I think that's when I fell for him. We dated for 2 years. He met my family, and they were nice to him, mostly. My dad approved of his job. My mom liked his manners. Hannah, well, she seemed indifferent at first. She gave him a half-hearted hey the first time they met, barely looked up from her phone. Over time, though, she warmed up. A little too much, in hindsight. I ignored the weird looks. The long conversations when I wasn't in the room. The way she'd brush her hair or adjust her shirt every time he walked into the house. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, she was my sister. She even offered to help plan our engagement party. I was hesitant. She hadn't lifted a finger when it came to her own life, why would she care about mine? But my mom was thrilled. Let her do something for once. She's trying. So I let her in. Gave her access to the guest list. Let her pick the decorations. She even helped Daniel with booking the venue while I worked late. I thought, maybe things are changing. Maybe she's finally stepping up. Maybe she wants to celebrate me. We set the date. I bought the dress. I even let her hold the ring at one point while I tried it on again, grinning like a fool. I told her, "This is the first time in my life I feel like I'm getting something for me." She smiled. But now that I look back, there was something in her eyes. Not pride. Not happiness. Something colder. Sharper. And I missed it. Because I wanted to believe my time had finally come. Chapter 4, Whispers Behind Her Back. It started small, so small, it was easy to ignore at first. A delayed text. A missed call. An offhand joke from Daniel that didn't quite land. I chalked it up to wedding stress. After all, planning the biggest day of your life comes with nerves, right? But then it became a pattern. Daniel stopped answering with the same warmth. His messages became shorter, less "can't wait to see you tonight" red heart and more busy. Talk later. He said he was working late. A lot. I believed him. He'd never given me a reason not to. But then Hannah started acting odd. Not rude, just distant. Reserved in a way that didn't feel like her usual laziness. It was more controlled. Intentional. She stopped asking about the wedding. When I brought it up, she'd change the subject or pretend to scroll on her phone. At dinner one night, I said something about centerpieces, and she just laughed under her breath. "What?" I asked. "Nothing," she said. "Just, you're putting a lot of work into this." I mean, for one day. I remember looking at her across the table and feeling this weird chill. My mom didn't say anything. My dad suddenly needed to check the thermostat. It was the first time I noticed it, the shift. It wasn't just Hannah. It was everyone. They stopped asking me how I was. They started asking me about money. "Have you set a budget? Are you sure you want to spend that much on a dress? Maybe keep it simple, you don't want to overwhelm Daniel." Overwhelm him. This was our wedding. I was doing everything, paying for everything, and now I was being told to tone it down. I brushed it off, again. I didn't want to sound paranoid. But the whispers kept getting louder, not in volume, but in feeling. In silence. In avoidance. Daniel stopped showing up for family dinners, which used to be his favorite. Hannah would leave the room to take private calls and then re-enter looking flustered or smug, hard to tell which. I caught her once, smiling at a text and quickly locking her phone when I came into the room. When I asked what was so funny, she just said, "Oh, nothing. Just a friend." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Because to believe anything else would mean accepting something unthinkable, that the two people I trusted most were starting to slip away, together. But then came the dreams. The gut feelings. The mental tally I couldn't stop keeping. The week Daniel's work schedule started changing, Hannah had suddenly started dressing up more. The same day he cancelled on a lunch date with me, I saw him drive past my job, and he wasn't alone. My mom, who once gushed about our engagement, now couldn't even look me in the eye when I mentioned cake tastings or venues. It was like everyone knew something I didn't. And I was the only one still playing pretend. So I told myself it was stress. I told myself it was my imagination. I told myself, "You've sacrificed too much to start doubting now." But deep down, something darker was growing. A quiet voice I kept silencing. What if they're not just acting strange? What if they're hiding something from you? What if they're doing it together? Chapter 5, The Betrayal. The wedding was exactly 1 week away. I had just picked up my dress that morning. It hung in the back seat of my car like a promise, clean, pressed, and untouched. Like my hope. Like everything I thought I'd earned after a lifetime of being the good one. The venue was confirmed, the catering paid in full, the playlist approved. Even Hannah had finally started helping again, or so I thought. She offered to check in with the florist. Said she'd meet Daniel to finalize the seating chart. I was suspicious, sure, but tired. Tired enough to cling to the version of reality that still made sense. That night, I got off work early. I decided to surprise Daniel. We hadn't spent any real time together in days, and I missed him. I picked up his favorite takeout, spicy noodles and fried dumplings, and drove straight to his apartment, still wearing my name tag and aching feet. His car was in the driveway. The porch light was on. I used my spare key, something he gave me 6 months ago, with a smile and a "This place is yours too, you know." I walked in quietly, balancing the food containers, and called out his name. No answer. His living room was empty, but there were 2 glasses of wine on the coffee table. One had lipstick on the rim. My heart dropped, but I didn't panic. Not yet. I walked down the hallway and paused outside the bedroom. The door was cracked. I could hear voices, hushed, close. Then laughter. Her laugh. I pushed the door open. And there they were. Hannah. Daniel. Together. On the bed. They froze. She clutched the sheet around herself like it mattered. He just stared at me, not shocked, not ashamed, just caught. I dropped the food. The containers burst open on the carpet, but nobody moved. Nobody said a word, until I laughed. Just once. A sharp, humorless sound. I turned to Hannah first. You couldn't take enough from me, huh? You had to take him too. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look embarrassed. You were never right for him anyway, she said, like that explained it. You made him feel trapped. I understand him better. Daniel spoke then, finally. It just happened. We didn't plan this. We didn't want to hurt you. That last part made me laugh again, harder this time. You didn't want to hurt me. You've been sleeping with my sister behind my back, while she's helping plan our wedding, and you didn't want to hurt me. I left before I burned the place down. I drove straight to my parents' house, crying so hard I could barely see the road. I expected fury. I expected comfort. I expected something. But when I told them what happened, their reactions shattered me even more. My mother looked stunned, but not outraged. My father just rubbed his temples. Are you sure you didn't misread something? Your sister's been under a lot of stress. Maybe you're overreacting. I stood there shaking, my entire world collapsing, and they told me to calm down. You're being emotional. You don't want to ruin the family over this. Ruin the family. I gave up my entire life for this family. My dreams. My money. My time. And now, I had nothing left but betrayal, and a wedding dress that would never be worn. No one hugged me. No one told me I deserved better. They just sat there in silence, waiting for me to get over it. And that was the moment I realized I was never going to be anything more than a utility to them. A worker. A provider. A shield for Hannah. Not a daughter. Not a sister. Not a human being. That night, I packed a bag and left. Not just the house. I left all of them. Chapter 6, Gaslight and Exile. The days after the betrayal felt unreal, like I was moving through fog, barely tethered to the world. My phone blew up with texts from Hannah and Daniel, as if I owed them an explanation. We didn't mean for it to happen. It was just a mistake, but it became real. You were always too intense about everything. I didn't respond. But worse than their lies were the ones coming from my own parents. I gave them the truth, raw, unfiltered. I showed them the text Daniel sent afterward, trying to rationalize his connection with Hannah. I even showed them a photo I had snapped in the apartment, hoping they'd finally see what I was up against. And still, they refused. Your sister has always struggled emotionally. You're older, you should be more forgiving. It's not like they meant to hurt you. Every time I tried to express my anger, my grief, my betrayal, they dismissed it as mood swings or overreaction. My mom even said, "Maybe you were too controlling in the relationship. That can push a man away." It hit me harder than the affair itself. They didn't just excuse what happened, they rewrote it. They turned me into the villain. The unstable one. The dramatic one. The one who couldn't let go of the past. The final blow came 3 days later, when I returned to the house, my house, to pick up some clothes. Hannah was there. Not just visiting. Living there. She stood in my kitchen, barefoot and smug, sipping coffee from my mug. "You don't need to make this harder than it already is," she said. "It's not like you're married to him. You'll be fine." I didn't answer. I walked to the bedroom, the one Daniel and I had decorated together, and found a drawer full of Hannah's clothes. Her shoes were lined up next to mine. Her toothbrush sat next to mine on the sink. She hadn't just taken my fiancé. She had moved into my life. I stormed into the living room, ready to scream, but my mother was already there, arms folded, jaw tight. "Maybe it's better if you don't come around for a while," she said. "The tension is too high, and the baby doesn't need that energy." The baby. She was using her child, my nephew, who I practically raised, as a shield against me. "I pay this rent," I said slowly. "Every single bill. Every single piece of furniture in this house was bought with my money." My father appeared then, eyes already tired. "You're creating a hostile environment. Maybe it's time you found your own place." "For everyone's sake." They said it like they were doing me a favor. Like banishing me from the life I had built was some kind of peaceful resolution. But I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I walked back to my room, the one they had already started converting for Hannah, and quietly packed what little I could carry. No one helped. No one said goodbye. As I closed the front door behind me, I didn't cry. I wasn't even angry. I was done. Let them keep the couch I bought. Let them sleep in the beds I paid for. Let them use the electricity and Wi-Fi I had set up in my name. Because soon, all of it would go dark. Chapter 7, The Private Message. I didn't speak to any of them for weeks. No calls. No texts. I blocked everyone, Daniel, Hannah, my parents. I even muted mutual friends just to breathe without the constant reminder that everything I gave had been taken for granted. I stayed with a friend for a while, an old roommate from my waitress days who didn't ask questions. I slept on a futon in her living room with my suitcase tucked underneath, staring at the ceiling every night, trying to stitch reality back together. Some days I felt hollow. Other days, I felt like a matchbox, one spark away from lighting the whole damn world on fire. I applied for an apartment. A small one-bedroom with peeling cabinets and paper-thin walls. But it was mine. I signed the lease using my own name, my own money, and no one could take it from me. I was slowly beginning to piece together a life again when the message came. It was from Kira, a girl I hadn't spoken to in over a year. We went to high school together, stayed friendly on social media, but hadn't been close in a long time. Her message was short. I don't know if this is my place, but you deserve to know. Attached were 6 screenshots. At first, I didn't want to open them. I'd spent weeks trying to stay numb, to avoid reliving the betrayal. But something in my gut told me to look. I opened the first one. It was a text conversation between Hannah and Daniel. The date was almost 10 months before the engagement party. 10 months. Hannah. She's never around anyway. It's not like she even notices you're unhappy. Daniel. You get me. She doesn't. Hannah. Imagine if it was just us. No hiding. By the second screenshot, my hands were shaking. By the third, I felt like I couldn't breathe. They talked about me like I was furniture. An obstacle. A joke. Daniel complained that I was too serious, too tired, too focused on holding everything together. Hannah told him I was obsessed with being the savior and that I needed to be taken down a notch. In one message, Daniel wrote, I could marry her, sure. But I'd always be thinking about you. And Hannah replied, then don't marry her. The messages went back months, not a one-time mistake, not a drunken lapse in judgment. This was a full-fledged relationship, with its own inside jokes, secrets, and plans. And the final screenshot broke me open completely. It was from a group chat. My mom. My sister. Daniel. My mother. Mom. She'll lose it if she finds out. But maybe that's for the best. She's too rigid. Too much like her father's side. Hannah. She'll play the victim like always. But you know she'll land on her feet. She always does. They knew. They all knew. And not only did they keep it from me, they discussed it together, like co-conspirators, like I was the difficult one, the obstacle to their comfort. Kira's last message was the simplest. I'm so sorry. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I sat there for a long time after that. No tears. No screaming. Just this chilling silence in my chest, the kind that comes when your last shred of hope dies. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was orchestration. Planned. Agreed upon. Protected. I was the only one in the family who hadn't signed the contract to destroy me. And now? Now it was time to start reading the fine print, and prepare to rewrite the ending. Chapter 8, Time to Strike. I didn't call anyone. I didn't send a rage-fueled text or post a bitter update online. There were no confrontations. No screaming matches. No burned wedding dresses or door-slamming scenes. Just silence. The kind of silence that comes before the storm, not out of mercy, but calculation. For the first time in my life, I stopped reacting. I started planning. Because while they saw me as emotional, overbearing, dramatic, what they forgot is that I was the one who built the machine they all rode on. And I knew exactly where the wires ran. So I opened my laptop. And I logged into everything. Every account. Every bill. Every auto payment I had set up over the last 5 years. I had access to. The utilities in my parents' house, all still under my name. The streaming services they never paid for. The credit card I had foolishly co-signed for Hannah just until she builds her own credit. The family phone plan I had been paying for because it made things simpler. And yes, the lease agreement on the house Daniel and I once shared, the one he now played house in with my sister. I started shutting things down. Quietly. Deliberately. No warnings. No second chances. The first to go was the phone plan. I removed myself from the account. Cancelled autopay. Let them deal with the disconnected service and overdue balances. No phone calls. No data. Just silence. Next came the credit card. The one Hannah used for emergencies, aka hair appointments, delivery, and late-night impulse buys. I reported it stolen. Had it closed. Transferred any outstanding balance to my own private card and froze it. The next time she tried to order something. Declined. Then came the utilities. The Wi-Fi, the electricity, even the water at my parents' place, all still linked to my account. All paid for by me. Account owner has requested termination of service, the emails read. Effective immediately. The house would still have power, for now. But the bills were no longer linked to my bank account. The auto payments were gone. The charges would start building, and they'd have no idea until disconnection notices started showing up in their mailbox. Then came the apartment lease. Daniel had never put his name on it, just me. He thought he didn't need to. He thought love was enough. I gave the landlord notice. 30 days. No explanation needed. And then I stopped paying the rent. Let him explain the eviction. I even changed the passwords to the shared Netflix and Spotify accounts. Trivial. Maybe. But it sent a message. Your free ride is over. Everything you took for granted is gone. They had made me feel invisible for so long. So now I let them feel the absence of me. Not with words. With consequences. This wasn't revenge out of spite. It was accountability. They wanted to treat me like I didn't matter. Let's see how well they function without me silently patching every crack behind the scenes. And when it all started falling apart, when the calls stopped going through, the lights flickered, the accounts locked out, they wouldn't hear from me. Not a warning. Not an apology. Not even a goodbye. Because the storm wasn't coming anymore. It had already begun. Chapter 9, The Unraveling. At first, I imagined it like a slow leak, one that they wouldn't notice right away. A phone plan dropping. A declined charge. A payment reminder that went to the wrong inbox. I pictured Hannah sitting at her favorite cafe, ordering her overpriced drink with that smug little smile, only to have the card declined. She'd laugh it off at first. Try another one. Then frown. Check her app. Try again. That's weird, she'd say. It always works. It wouldn't. And that was only the beginning. By the end of the first week, the Wi-Fi in my parents' house was shut off. My dad thought it was a provider issue. He spent hours on hold, yelling at a customer service rep. The irony was almost poetic. The man who told me to calm down was now screaming over Netflix buffering. My mother called Hannah and told her to check the account. She couldn't log in. Password changed. Access revoked. Next came the electricity bill. I had cancelled autopay. The due date came and went, unnoticed, of course, because I had always paid before reminders were even needed. But this time, there was no safety net. The first warning arrived in the mail. Then another. Then the power went out during dinner. My mother called me from a neighbor's phone. I didn't answer. Daniel, meanwhile, was in full damage control mode. His friends were ghosting him. Turns out, some of them were mutual acquaintances of mine. They had seen the screenshots. Kira hadn't just sent them to me. Daniel tried to spin the narrative. It just happened. We fell in love. She was too cold. Too distant. No one bought it. Because by now, the eviction notice had hit his mailbox. He tried to reach out. I got an email from him, long and pathetic. You've made your point. Can we be adults about this? I just want a clean break. A clean break. After what they did. He wanted clean. Hannah's social media changed. The photos with Daniel stopped. The captions got darker, more cryptic. Some people are snakes. Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from family. I almost laughed out loud. By now, her utilities were overdue. The credit card she used for groceries. Still frozen. The car insurance, once billed to my account, had lapsed. She got pulled over for expired registration and no proof of insurance. My mother was calling everyone. Family, friends. Cousins. Old neighbors. Something's wrong with the accounts. The bank must have made a mistake. None of the bills are going through. No one had answers. Because no one except me knew the truth. They were living inside a house of cards, and I had simply stopped holding the bottom row in place. My father, proud, stubborn, always in charge, finally snapped. He accused Hannah of bringing drama into the family. She screamed that he had let me ruin her life. My mother cried. Called me a dozen times. Left voicemails begging for peace. But there was no peace. Not anymore. Their image was cracking, not just within the family, but outside it. People started asking questions. Why wasn't Hannah working? What happened to the wedding? Where was Daniel living now? The support system they had relied on, my support, was gone. And with every bill they couldn't pay, every message they sent into silence, they finally began to realize. I wasn't the broken one. I wasn't the burden. I was the backbone. And they had snapped it without a second thought. Chapter 10, The Reveal. I waited until the silence had settled in, until their confusion turned into panic, and their panic began to rot into blame. 3 weeks. That's how long it took. 3 weeks without me fixing everything behind the scenes. 3 weeks of bills unpaid, connections lost, and support vanished. I wanted them to sit in the void of me before I gave them the final piece. And then I sent one message. No explanation. No dramatics. Just a PDF file attached to a blank email titled, "Since you never kept track, I did." The spreadsheet had everything. Every utility bill. Every school fee. Every rent payment. Every grocery run. Every birthday gift I covered because no one else brought one. Every just until next payday that never got paid back. Every forgotten debt I had quietly absorbed. It was color-coded. Dated. Cross-referenced with receipts. It wasn't just numbers. It was a timeline of their dependency. A forensic breakdown of just how much of their life had been built on my back. At the bottom of the document was a running total, highlighted in bold red. $147,382.59. That's how much I had spent on them in the last 8 years. That didn't include the time I lost. The opportunities I gave up. The career I never pursued. The degree I never finished. The wedding I never had. And beneath that total, I added one line, the only line in the entire file written from emotion, not fact. You built your lives on me. Now live without me. I blocked them all immediately after. But not before I saw the response come through, from my mother. This is cruel. You're being petty and vindictive. This is not who we raised you to be. No. It wasn't who they raised me to be. It was who they used me to be. And now I was finally done playing the role. Later, I heard things through mutuals. Daniel had moved back in with his parents, jobless, broke, ghosted by half of his friends. Hannah had started a GoFundMe to help a single mom recover from family abuse, which was promptly reported for fraud after the screenshots resurfaced. My parents were looking to downsize, since the mortgage payments they once assumed I'd cover were now very real. They didn't reach out again. They knew better now. And even if they didn't, it wouldn't matter. Because my message had already landed. Louder than any argument. Clearer than any confrontation. A ledger of truth they could never erase. Chapter 11, No Looking Back. There was no big send-off. No dramatic exit. No bittersweet farewell. Just a one-way moving truck. 2 suitcases. And a quiet kind of resolve I had never felt before. I didn't leave them to punish them anymore. I left because I was finally choosing myself. The new city wasn't glamorous. It wasn't some coastal escape or Instagram-worthy reinvention. It was real. Affordable. Quiet. Unfamiliar. And that's exactly what I needed. My apartment was small, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every chipped mug, every creaky drawer, was mine. Paid for with money I earned. Occupied by only one person's expectations, mine. For the first time in my life, my paycheck didn't vanish into someone else's emergency. There were no calls asking for help. No guilt trips. No "can you just cover it this month?" There was no chaos waiting for me when I opened my inbox. No birthdays to remember for people who forgot mine. No fake smiles at family dinners where I sat quietly while everyone celebrated the very people who tore me apart. There was only silence. And in that silence, peace. Not the kind of peace that feels like nothing. The kind that feels like everything. I went back to school. Online classes, flexible hours. I enrolled in a degree I had once walked away from to help my sister find herself. I got a job with a company that valued boundaries. I started saving. Not just scraping by, but actually saving. I bought new clothes. Went out alone. Read books again. Slept without waking in panic. I started laughing again. Not the hollow laugh I used when Hannah said something cruel and everyone ignored it, but the kind that comes from deep inside. The kind I didn't know I'd lost. I made new friends. Slowly. Carefully. People who didn't see me as a fallback. People who asked about my dreams, not what I could do for them. And every so often, I'd get an email. A voicemail. A message from a cousin or old friend. Your mom asks about you. Your sister had another meltdown. Daniel's working at a call center now. I'd listen. I'd nod. And I'd delete them. Because I no longer needed updates on a story I had stopped starring in. I don't know if they ever understood what they did. Maybe they tell themselves I was always difficult. Maybe they blame my cold heart or say I overreacted. Maybe they've rewritten it all into something that makes them feel better. Let them. I don't need justice from them. I don't need closure from people who were never open. I don't need apologies carved from manipulation. Because I finally have a life that's mine. Every dollar I earn. Mine. Every decision I make. Mine. Every quiet morning and peaceful night. Mine. And for the first time in my life, I am not giving any of it away. Not for guilt. Not for blood. Not for anyone.
They lied. They cheated. They betrayed the one person who gave them everything. But guess what? The truth always finds a voice, and here, it screams. If you live for chaos, loyalty gone wrong, and revenge served cold, like this video, drop a comment, and hit subscribe, because on Family Drama Unleashed, we don't forgive, and we never forget. Tap that bell, because the next betrayal, it's already on its way.